Hey everyone, Steve here from CELTAhelper.com, and today I'm going to give you a rundown of some really simple things you can do that will help to bring your lessons to life and give them much more of your personal flair. And if you enjoy this video and get any value from it, you can now support the channel by buying me a coffee digitally on buymeacoffee.com/CELTAhelper, and that helps to support it and keep me making content to help people like you and other English language teachers out there. So check out the link below if you think it's worth it, and you can buy me a coffee there and I can keep making content like this. So to get into it, now in terms of making your materials, you will be using course books on your various English language courses and so on in careers, but something I always found was I actually always wanted to make my own materials because the course books are just a bit dry. And they're often not that good. They may look good on the surface, but once you get into teaching it, sometimes they can be really awkward. Sometimes they miss obvious points to exploit and to make, more learning out of. And sometimes they're just a bit, they just don't hit the mark. And you're going to find that you want to make materials often, but you'll also be rewarded for doing it. Let's say if you're on your CELTA course or another English language teaching course, they're going to recognize that you've taken the time to make them. Now, I've made mine almost all the time just through simple Word docs. I like it because it's nice and clear, keeps it clean, the layout is simple, and it does the job. And I often do these really as extensions from the workbook. Again, there's lots of ones out there, but sometimes they're really convoluted and they just don't quite do it for me. So I've always enjoyed making my own materials. Now I'm just going to jump over to a Word doc in a moment to show you how we can start to make, let's say, a bit of a worksheet just with a couple of simple exercises and start to think about how you could do the same using very basic formatting and word processing skills. You can see I've got my Word doc open. Now the first thing I'd probably want to do is double click in the top and put my header details. Let's say give it the title, because that will then reflect across all the worksheet. Or maybe I want to do it down the bottom. Okay, so I'll center that and let's give it a title. Okay, now you'd want to give it a title that actually matches the content you're going to do, but I'm just doing this for illustrative purposes. And I could say my worksheet and use the heading option there. Now the nice thing, this will then come across to other pages in the worksheet. If I scroll down to the bottom, double click again and center that text. I can also do insert, page number, current position, and I would do this, okay? Because if it spills over to other pages, then it doesn't get confusing for you or the students, especially if you're going to print them out and you don't have a stapler, etc. They can see page 1 of how many and what order. So there we go. And let's say maybe we'll start off with just a simple pre-teaching vocabulary setup, okay? So if I'm going to put in a table, now actually I'll hit enter. I want to put my instructions before that and a bit of context. So let's keep the instructions nice and simple, but I'll also number it. So if I just press 1, hit enter, it formats as a number. I'll just have it so they have the words here and the meanings over here. Now we've got to be careful we're not making this inadvertently very complicated, because a definition of a word is often 10 to 12 words, whereas the word itself is only one. So if you think about it, if you're going to give them a definition from the dictionary, that's probably going to make it far more complicated than it needs to be. So let's see. And maybe I'll do that. Okay, again, I'm not saying the words on the left or on the right. I'm just saying the words 1 to 3 with their meanings A to C. And I can see if I do that, number it. Okay. And I can probably, do these kind of things. I would do these if I'm not being recorded, but it's funny how we do things differently when being recorded. Whoops. Remember, you've got these pre-formatting options up here. Oh, it's not doing it. Normally it would do it fine, but anyway. Okay, So, and let's just reinforce that, what we've said. Okay, words, meanings. You might prefer to put definitions. Depends if you think they'll know it. Now, for the purposes of this example, I'm not going to do, a whole coherent worksheet in the sense that one follows the next, but let's just give a couple of examples. And I would always pull these out of, let's say if you're going to do a reading text and you know they're not going to understand certain words, then pull out. Maybe you'd probably want to do a maximum of 7 of these, maybe 6, not much more because it'll probably be overload, but pull out the ones you can guess or you are anticipating are going to be problems. And that's another one for your lesson plan, anticipated problems. You made a vocabulary matching exercise to prevent that or to foresee those issues. Another one for your lesson plan, you can say anticipated problems, issues with vocabulary in the reading text. So you foresaw that and made this exercise to help your learners. So if we continue on, let's say word. Again, I'm just pulling these out of thin air, but okay, maybe frequent. Again, these would be level appropriate. So it's a bit hard to do at just without any context. I'm not even using text at the moment, which is not how you should be doing it. But anyway, actually, I'm just going to pause as I do these because it's really hard to think on the fly. So I'll pause it and then come back when I'm done. Okay, so I've just put a few random examples in. Now, there's a couple of points to note. Let's say this order, because you want them to match, you don't want them to be in the same order, right? So it's not just going to be a case. You'd also probably want to have the first one done. So you might actually want to do more. Let's say you might indicate and put that one in red, for instance, or bold, so they could see how to do it. Now, if you did the first example and you gave it to them, then that would be too few to be worth doing. So you'd want to have more, but it's always a good idea with your materials to give a completed example, just as they do in your textbooks. So however you'd want to do that, or you could draw a line across it if you'd rather they draw lines. Although in my experience, students often like to write the numbers or letters because it's just that much clearer for them. And there's another point to think about here as well, that if you only wanted to do this because maybe the rest of the course book was good, then what you could do is actually, to save paper, you could do 5 of these on one page. So you only have to have that. So let's see if I put the dash, let's put a number 8 and a less than sign. I can see, just copy and paste that. Whoops, computer's going a bit crazy. I'll just copy and paste that across. And then I've got that. So I can see where to cut it. It's very clear. Copy and paste. And paste that down. And as many as you can fit on there. Now this is a bit annoying. In this case, I'd started doing it for multiple exercises, but I could obviously just take that out. Okay. Just to be aware of numbering, stuff like that. And here, if it does this, just restart at number 1 and so on. And work your way down. So that you could then save. Now you notice I haven't saved this because I'm just going to come back and continue making the worksheet. But you could have that, cut it up, save paper, save yourself time as well. If I undo those changes, however, because you'd always want to be saving your changes as you go, just going to continue and make my next exercise. So let's say we want to do a fill in the gaps or blanks and just hit enter again. Now if I've done, let's say I've done number there, those are the letters I was looking for earlier. I can just do letters below, because what you don't really want to be is in a position of having to say number 1 1 1 2 1 3. It just gets a bit confusing. So if we look at exercise 2, what's A, what's B, etc. Okay, so in the pause then I've added a bit more detail. This is out of context, so it's not a perfect example, but it gives you an idea again of that formatting. So fill in the gaps in the sentences below with the correct past simple form of like. So you are really giving them clear instructions. Maybe I'll space that out a bit if I can. Okay, so as per usual, it's not really playing ball, but another reason to get practicing with Word and this formatting. But you can see I've got my bolded, verb tense there, and also telling them which verb to use. Now, this might actually be a bit confusing because at the end this one is a little bit more difficult perhaps. But you can see I've given them dots. I've also indicated where they've got two words here, and also given them ones where it has to be, the answer must be, one is a negative, one is an affirmative, etc. Try to give them variety, and generally the pattern is to make them more difficult as you go through. So that helps as well when you're running through feedback with the class, because you can ask maybe the weaker, less confident students first. They've got easier answers to give as well. And you'll also note that I've got this in red here. Again, the given example, they can see that, they know it's done, so they can follow along. Even if you think it's really easy, it's still always worth doing. And I just can't stress it enough. Something you might think is easy, but you give it to someone who's never seen it before, low-level English language learner, it's not as easy as you think. And you also, at this point, it's worth noting that you're probably going to want to make a copy of your materials as an answer key. So you just want to go into your file, save as, and I just put _AK for answer key at the end, and keep the answers in a different color so it's immediately obvious which one's the answer key and which one's for the students. And make sure you don't give them the answer key. Has happened in the past, not good, and all this work could be wasted. But yeah, you'd run through these perhaps at the end, perhaps at the start, however you think would work best for you, and enter all the answers. So you've got your worksheet completed, ready to work with, and you've got your answers as well. And really, that's it for this demo of making materials for your English language teaching lessons and courses. You can get really into this. I always enjoyed making them, and you can also, go really get creative, add lots of different things. Just have a one thought about in terms of printing. Do you need color? If you're putting a nice fancy image in there, that's going to use up a lot of ink. Not only will it cost you money, but also implication of using ink and environmentally friendly practices and so on. Can you cut down, save paper as well? Does it need to be paper? Can you make these in a digital place that the students could also access to save printing? But either way, this gives you some indication. Remember, you can get more and more creative. There are websites where you can download these from, but I think you're going to get a lot more from making them yourself. So at least try and make some yourself and then have a look elsewhere if needed. But you can also then still build up this collection portfolio, because some of these you can take across to other lessons, take with you, and build up your resources as well as you go through your journey as an English language teacher and perhaps beyond. So there you go. Hope you found that useful. Remember, if you did enjoy this, check out buymeacoffee.com/CELTA, CELTA helper. Whoop, nearly got it wrong. So you can support the channel and I can keep creating content like this. If you enjoyed, also give us a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in another video. Thanks for watching. Remember to also check out the links down below. See you soon. Bye.